Well, here it is, the start of my Rambo series of movies reviews, and today I'm going to be tackling the 1982 film First Blood, which was directed by Ted Kotcheff and stars Sylvester Stallone, Brian Dennehy, and Richard Crenna. This is the first film in the Rambo series, and it is based off of the novel First Blood by David Morrell. So I'm sure most of you have already seen First Blood, but I'm going to go ahead and talk about the plot of the film. At the very beginning, we start in Hope, Washington, and John Rambo, played by Sylvester Stallone, is looking for the last surviving member of his team from Vietnam. And he finds out that the last surviving person besides himself has passed away. So he is all alone in the world. His whole team is gone. So John Rambo is in the town and starts getting harassed by the sheriff, Will Teasel, played by Brian Dennehy. Now, Sheriff Teasel does not like drifters, and he just looks at Rambo and just says, this guy, he doesn't even know if he was in the army. Back in the time of the Vietnam War, a lot of protesters actually wore army jackets with the American flag. So he didn't know, but he just looked at this guy as a dirty drifter and pretty much started giving him trouble and was like, I don't want you in my town. We like our town clean. Well, he takes Rambo to the edge of town and is like, oh, here's a ride, get out of here. Well, Rambo, he's had it. Now, you got to understand John Rambo. He went through the Vietnam War, and there's a lot of veterans will tell you, it messes with you psychologically. Rambo's like, I didn't do anything wrong, I just wanted something to eat, as he says. So he walks back into town, and of course the sheriff arrests him for resisting arrest. So Rambo's taken to the sheriff's station where pretty much he's hassled by all the deputies, especially the #1 deputy, Galt, who just keeps picking on Rambo the whole time. Now, they're trying to get information from Rambo to book him, and he's just being quiet, They're treating him terribly. They're hosing him down with a fire hose. They're physically abusing him, and then they want to shave him. Well, that just brings a flashback of Rambo being tortured in Vietnam, so he loses it, and he just clears out the sheriff's department, wipes them all out and escapes. Well, of course, the sheriff's pissed off, so they all go after Rambo, and Rambo retreats into, the woods/mountains. And they end up getting dogs to go after him and everything. And what ends up happening is Rambo, he sets all these traps, and he pretty much immobilizes the whole sheriff's department. And even Sheriff Teasel, where he gets him in a position where he has a knife to his neck, and he's like, you pushed me. He's like, for no reason, you need to let this go. He's like, or I will bring a war to you. And he knows about war. Well, Teasel is like, screw you, let's get a helicopter out here. And so they proceed to chase Rambo down even more. What ends up happening is Galt, the deputy that was really pushing him around, he, out of going against protocol, he actually tries to kill Rambo via helicopter. He's in the helicopter and he's shooting at him. Well, Rambo throws a rock at the helicopter to distract it, and the helicopter veers off and Galt falls out and dies. Now, at this point, Teasel didn't know that Galt was trying to kill Rambo, so he sees Galt as being murdered by Rambo, and Rambo tries to reason with him like, no, look, I didn't do it. Well, it's too late. It's too late. Rambo's dug his own grave, according to Sheriff Teasel, and so they really start to hunt him at this point, and Rambo has to use all his survival instincts from the Vietnam War to survive. And they get the National Guard out there, and they're firing rockets at him, and he's getting trapped in a mine. But Rambo's been through a lot worse, so he's able to tolerate it and get his mindset. And in comes Colonel Troutman, played by Richard Crenna, and Colonel Troutman's like, you guys don't know what you're dealing with. He's saying this to the sheriff and his deputies. This guy was built by America for death, pretty much. And he's like, if you go after him, he is going to destroy you. And of course, they don't heed his words. And Rambo ends up going amok and tearing up the town, huge. And he wants Teasel bad. So he ends up getting into the sheriff's office, and Teasel's on the roof, and Rambo shoots and injures him, and he falls through, and Rambo is going to kill him. And then Colonel Troutman comes in and you can't do this, Rambo. And that's when Rambo breaks down. And at this point, we see him throw his heart out on what he has suffered. And finally, in the end, Rambo gives up and is taken away to jail. And that's the film. So let's go ahead and talk about some fun facts from this movie. The original ending had Rambo committing suicide by Troutman's weapon. And this was actually filmed, and you can see this as a deleted scene. And what happened was, not only did Sylvester Stallone not like the ending, but test audience didn't like it, because when you're watching this movie, you have sympathy for Rambo. I mean, you grow to understand him. At the time, Sylvester Stallone didn't like it, and the audience didn't like it, so they changed it to where Rambo survived. Speaking of Sylvester Stallone, he actually rewrote the script. When he first got the script, he did a lot of rewrites because he felt that Rambo wasn't sympathetic. In David Morrell's original novel, Rambo was really hard and heartless. And Sylvester Stallone wanted to give Rambo some sympathy, so there was a lot rewritten. And it did work because you did feel sorry for him. Kirk Douglas was originally cast to play Colonel Troutman, but he backed out because he did not like the fact that they had changed the ending of the book and had Rambo survive. Jerry Goldsmith did the music for the film, and a lot of people will recognize the Rambo theme and the song It's a Long Road, written by, Jerry Goldsmith. Sylvester Stallone, he actually hated the first cut of this film, and he begged the producers that he wanted to buy the movie from them so that he could burn it. This is a true story, and they wouldn't let him do it. I mean, that's how bad Sylvester Stallone did not like the first cut of the movie. And he jokes about it now, but he literally wanted to buy the movie so he could burn it. So they wouldn't do that. So then he was like, well, you know what? I want you to cut a lot of scenes out where it's from Rambo's perspective. I would rather have the other characters tell Rambo's story. And so it did cut the movie down in time, but that's pretty much the final cut of the movie we get. And I think it was a good move. I think it worked really well. And we all know that Sylvester Stallone does a lot of his own stunts, and he gets injured quite often. Well, in the scene where Rambo jumps off the cliff into a tree, if you remember that scene when Rambo hits the ground, he's writhing in pain because he got a huge gash in his side. Well, what really happened was when Sylvester Stallone jumped off of that, he broke a rib. And in the film, when you see Rambo on the ground, clutching his side, that's actual footage of Sylvester Stallone. He said he was actually in real pain because he broke a rib. So talk about authenticity. Okay, the budget for this film was only $14 million. So when it went to the box office, it was a moderate hit. Domestically, this movie made $47 million, but worldwide, it made $125 million. So based on a budget of $14 million, it definitely made its money back and is considered a hit for its time. Alright, so let's go ahead and talk about the acting. Of course, we have Sylvester Stallone playing John Rambo, and this is his most memorable character besides Rocky. He really pulled the essence of Rambo out. You really felt for Rambo, and this film's a lot different from the other three Rambo films. Sylvester Stallone, for sure, did a great job. One of his best roles. And Brian Dennehy, again, an awesome character. I mean, you really hated William Teasel in this movie, and he pulled the part off perfectly. That's what you wanted to get. The whole town was really against Rambo, and Brian Dennehy's character, Sheriff Teasel, I mean, he really brought him in for no good reason. I mean, it was all personal. So, you really hated the guy, and Brian Dennehy did a good job in portraying that. And who could forget Richard Crenna, who played Colonel Troutman? He played Troutman in 3 of the 4 Rambo films, and it's his most memorable role. I mean, he was perfect. You could see that Colonel Troutman truthfully cared for Rambo, in that Colonel Troutman really felt kind of responsible for Rambo because the United States is what made Rambo what he was, the perfect killing machine. And Troutman, he felt bad that Rambo was in that state, almost wanted to, always protect him. And I thought Richard Crenna did a perfect job in portraying that. So First Blood, I'm going to go ahead and give this movie a 9 out of 10. It is my favorite in the 4 Rambo movies. It is completely different. It's not an action movie like Rambo 2 and 3 were. So it is definitely my favorite. And if you haven't seen it, which I'm sure most of you have, you definitely need to give it a watch. Well, thanks for watching this Sylvester Stallone movie review. My next movie review will, of course, be Rambo First Blood Part 2. So stay tuned for that. We will catch you later.